Great into the week after a rough day yesterday. But still a lot of mistakes we can polish up on. But good winning day to come back and continue, right? So a lot of times after a losing day, you're worried about a lot of things that are unreasonable instead of just showing up and hitting your trades and taking the setup that you see in front of you. So that's what we did today. As you can see, we had a great trade, but I'll go over how it actually unfolded live in terms of my actual executions, and we'll go from there. But anyways, today was a day where I got on the charts at 8:30, which I never get on 8:30 except for we had CPI today. So I knew CPI, we'd have a reaction. We had a nice 56.1 minute, so we'd put in data high and data low. We took the data low, sold off, left the data high. So that became my draw on liquidity for the day. But on the higher time frame, at the time, I was kind of bearish, kind of bullish. I was in between bias because we just completed the market maker buy model that we had been looking at for the last few days. We just completed it. So after you complete the market maker model, you really typically need to wait for structure. So we complete it here, obviously. And this is all the overnight, I believe. No, this was yesterday. So you kind of accumulate, you kind of chop. It looks like we're in a bigger time frame model. So this was the original market maker model down here, and I guess we're actually in a market maker model on the more extreme time frame, and this is going to be our actual draw. So now my bias is bullish until we take out the all-time highs, or structure provides other reason. But this is now our original consolidation. This is our sell-off. This is still the bottom, the manipulation. And now we have our buy side of the curve starting. So it's just a little change of plan because of the reaction. But after you finish the first model, which is the internal model here to here, then I'm instantly just more patient and less of a strong bias, right? Before, when we're down here, my bias is very bullish. Once we get up here, it's kind of mixed and you have to do intraday stuff. So I was leaning a little bit bearish market coming out because we were starting to break structure to the lower. But we never end up invalidating this 4 hour. So I was really paying attention to see how this 4 hour gap closed right here. I put in this bottom of the 4 hour fair value gap to make sure, how are we going to react to this bottom here in this 4 hour. So we end up coming down. You see this 5 minutes marked out. And again, I like the data highs there, but I also like the data highs that we left yesterday. So I had targets to the upside and downside today. Was just waiting for structure to tell me. If we go to the indicator here, we took out Asia low and London low, so that's bullish confluence. We swept the low, we swept liquidity. We come back down, we resweep liquidity of pre-market around 9 o'clock. We come into this 5 minute imbalance and we hold nicely. This is a nice high confluence area. It's just a little bit of accumulation. So a lot of times you'll see price draw into an area where we have a lot of price action, and then we have a fair value gap here and we respect it nicely. So going into the market open, this is the 4 hour, the bottom of the 4 hour. And as you know, the 4 hour candle closed at 10. So 10 is right here. So we close really bullish, but regardless, we actually closed on this candle. So regardless though, when we came down here, we were underneath the 4 hour. So if we kept dropping and closed below, I'd be flip bearish. But what happens, we inverse this move here. We inverse this, but we inverse after taking this high. So I didn't want to jump in because I knew that we had already taken this high. So it's just not a great inverse. If we closed here, then I could get in and go to break even at this high or something like that, whatever the case may be. But we hit the internal high, so I couldn't take it. And we had this fair value gap here that I was worried about rejecting. We closed above that on the 2 minute. And that was my first entry. I jumped in long on this candle. We traded above this high, and I closed it for a small profit because I didn't like the risk. I was risking because I knew I had to put my stop loss below this candle low, which was 32 points. And I was not comfortable with the risk, which is perfectly fine. So I closed the trade early, which is against my rules, but also when I recognize that something I'm not comfortable with in a trade, it is perfectly fine, unless it's completely fear-based, right? But if it strictly goes against how much I'm willing to risk, if I have to risk too many points because I would want to put it below these fair value gaps, I would have to risk 35 points, which is too much that I feel comfortable with. So I was like, okay, if we go and it runs, fair enough. But if not, we'll probably get a better setup with better risk, and I can manage my stop loss better. So let's see if we can get something else to set up. So in turn, we get a nice setup. That came just a few minutes later. So we come in, we put in this bearish fair value gap. We hold this 1 minute bullish fair value gap. And at this point, we're starting to get back into the 4 hour fair value gap. So I'll take that off. So it's looking pretty good for bulls if we continue pumping. And as soon as we inverse this fair value gap, I jumped in longs, and I was targeting data highs. My first take profit was these highs here, to take off my 3 micros out of the 5 that I trade, and then let the rest. And then I wanted to take 4 off here just because I didn't expect us to get this bullish, and just all-time high price action is just that bullish sometimes. So that was my first target, take off most contracts and then let the last ones run to data highs. As you can see, a beautiful trade. It took about 18 minutes, right? So very quick, very efficient, what I like to see. But we'll go over some of the mistakes I made in this trade. So that's the reason I took the trade. We had all this low resistance liquidity leading up in the morning. We had the data highs. We had this fair value gap to rebalance to. So I was just very confident this high to be taken. So when we had this structure built to it, I was really confident. So yeah, that's the trade recap. I'm completely done for the day trading live. I'm going to take paper trades maybe, or maybe just step away, play some foot champs, whatever the case may be. Maybe work out, something like that, whatever. Start my weekend early. And just, although I would love to keep trading because I'm trying to pass my eval for the first time, I know that this was my trade, and there's no reason to take more trades today on such a good day. On a Friday, too, there's no reason to give back profits and just end the week strong, come into next week, and try and get this thing over the line, or just at least continue trading well. So, one thing I do think about this trade is that this spot to go break even is a little bit aggressive. Obviously, it ends up working, so that's something I've noticed too in trading, is that you can't just be blinded by hindsight, right? Hindsight, this break-even point is good because it never got touched, but it could have easily hit this high, maybe gone up a little more, and then come back down to this fair value gap here and bounced. So I don't really like going to break even there, but it's not the worst thing ever. But it's more of a hindsight thing, right? It's kind of like here. I took off my runner around here for 50 points because I just wasn't that confident that it was going to go straight up. I should have held anyways, but not because this fair value gap broke, right? Just because this fair value gap broke doesn't mean that we weren't going to retrace. The reason I should have held is because I was already in the position, and we got more confluence, and it's just the runner, right? That's what I should do with the runners. But I let myself get afraid of the fact that we just went up 100 points. And it's just very, very, very unlikely to see this efficient a price. And I just wanted to take my contract off. But yeah, a lot of times this is just, even though we did just inverse this move in this 1 minute, this 5 minute, I've just seen too many times that you pump a lot of points and then you'll retrace maybe to like a lower imbalance, right? So we had a 5 minute down here that we could have came back down to, and I just didn't want to sit through that. Of course, hindsight, we end up pumping, which again is just hindsight, but live time, I didn't want to sit through a possible retracement, because just because we inverse this 2 minute as well doesn't mean that we have to run another 50 points straight. So the fact that news came in, I think helps us, because we had a 31 point candle to the data high. So that just sped up the draw on liquidity. But yeah, so I should have held my runner, but not because we couldn't have gone back down, but because I should just get used to holding my runners, right? I should have been okay with it coming back down, because it was about a 50-50 that it came back down, because we were still in a 15 minute at the time. We ended up closing above, obviously, but we were just holding a 15 minute. We were also holding, we maybe not holding the 30 minute, but we're holding these imbalances, and there's just no reason to get too committed to something, right? Like, I definitely wouldn't have added to my position there, even though I wanted to see this get inversed. But once it got inversed, I should have just waited, and if it closed back below, I get out with my runner. And I kind of just got antsy and closed probably around here, so it ripped a few minutes later, and seems like it always does that. But we left games on the table today. I'll pull up my executions right here. Actually, so first we'll go over the account. We have on the account balance, this is the paper account. We're up decent. But how much are we up on the practice? We're up at 4,700 practice, but again, it's paper trade, right? It's a lot easier than the live account. So on this eval account, we're up 1,914. So we are starting to get a little bit closer day by day. $235. That's one of the better days on this account, actually. So that's pretty cool. And make sure that's on the demo. And so then we'll go into the week here. It obviously doesn't update, but again, I need to make sure that it's still okay. There's no information here, right? But yeah, so the weekly P&L, we're up 315 plus the 235. It's pretty simple math, but just to get it visually on the screen, we're up around 5 something. 315 plus 235 equals 550 on the week. So this is my third $500 week on the account, right? And to go over some of the stats here, we have, and we'll get into the trade. I'll pull up the execution, the live video in a second, but to go over kind of this graph here, we had a losing day. That's one losing day. We had a second losing day, a third losing day, and right around here, we had a fourth losing day. So until this day, day 13, I hadn't lost until yesterday. So we went a long time without losing. But we did take a loss yesterday, and we take another win today. So our win today covers our loss from yesterday and some. So we are approaching this 52,000 line and the 53,000 profit goal. So enough of that. And see, this is why I have no interest to trade anymore, because today, because just what are we going to do, right? Like, who knows? Who knows? Like, I have no idea what we're supposed to do. So this is just really, oh, what the heck? Okay, this is just really clean. This just move, I just can't believe it. But here we go. Here, we'll pull up the trade executions. So I think the first one was here. So yeah, the first trade was again that 2 minute that I told you guys I was executing off of. So we get the trade. The 1 minute right closes. Oh, why can't we go? The 1 minute closes really high. I don't want to take it. And I wait. Okay, the 2 minute. Let's see if the 2 minute closes. Boom. Okay, the 2 minute closes right here. I decided to get in. I wasn't comfortable with the risk at all. I just moved my stop loss just too low, and it went up. And I was just debating if do I get out, do I hold, whatever. And then I just ended up taking it off here because I just didn't like the risk, and I was waiting for another opportunity. Looking back, I should have just not taken the trade if I wasn't prepared to hold it, because I knew the risk going into the trade. So that's a mistake on my part, but I like how I managed it, even though it technically broke my rules getting out early. But it is what it is, right? That's part of trading. Sometimes you're going to make a mistake, and it's how you react and cut in your loss and your risk accordingly. So this is the real trade that we have going on here, right? We get the 1 minute. All the reasons why I got in. We wait for it to close, 6 seconds till the close. We get in right as it's closing. We don't get in early. Boom, right there. Boom, we got in instantly. No hesitation. That's what, with all the mistakes I make with holding my trades and whatnot, executions, you have to be ready to go. You're looking at the inverse fair value gap. I'm looking at the inverse fair value gap. As soon as it closes, you got to be ready to go, because that's your model. You got to trust it. Right, and I've got to work on the trust and holding my trades, but I've been getting a lot better just when I see the trade, just boom, entering. Yesterday I made that mistake where I hesitated, and you just can't hesitate, because then you're chasing, then you're getting an entry way too high up, and it's just mess up your risk, and over a long period, that's just bad habits, and it's just going to hurt you overall. So again, this is what I was talking about, the break-even point being a little bit aggressive, because even though in hindsight it worked, it could easily have came and stopped me out, and I would have been really upset to get stopped out on this trade. But we got lucky. And look here, this is really bad. We are barely up. My first take profit's this blue line. We are nowhere near. again, it's because I moved my stop to break even way too quickly that I'm instantly afraid. Oh my gosh, we could get stopped to break even. Let me take some contracts and take a little winner, which is just psychotic. It's just horrible trading. I should have just left my stop, maybe trail my stop to the bottom of this inverse, maybe to here, just trail my stop a little bit, not risk much, and held to the 13 level, and I miss out on more than 13 points. Because of this, you see me drag this take profit down, and boom, I got out of them. I got out around here on the chart, which is just disgusting execution, horrible. And then I hold properly. I think my next runner, I'm glad I held the runner to there, one of them. We get out properly where I should have got out on 4 of them. Actually, I don't even hold it properly, so I miss out on another $4, which it's $4, but still, that's bad habits. And then the runner just starts going. I went somewhere, someone knocked on the door. The runner's going. And then the runner closes above this inverse, so it should have given me more confidence to hold. And it's just stalling, and I don't really know if I'm comfortable. Kind of goes up, it kind of stalls, and then I just exit the runner here, which if I just held a few more minutes, it would have ripped, and we would have made another $100. But it is what it is. You'll make mistakes. You got to just move from it. And that's what we're going to try and do. So it's a very good day at the end of the week. I could obviously wish I could have continued to do better and just really dialed in on capitalize on these winning days, because that's going to be the difference in the long run of being able to do this and not do this, is being able to really capitalize the right way, because there's inexcusable mistakes, right? I should have held to this. That's 26 points on my 4 contracts, and then held to here. It's 90 points, right? And because I failed to execute properly, I cut myself short. So then my losing days affect my account a lot more than they should, and it just cannot happen. But anyone that's been watching the journey and been watching these videos knows that's a big issue that I have, that I've got to work past, and we're getting better slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, we'll get there. And just keep showing up, keep getting better. Really happy with this week and this day. Really just an ideal week, right? Some good trades, some bad days, handling it all well overall. And we continue on to the next week. So I appreciate everyone that's tunes into these videos. It's really fun seeing the growth on the channel. And I'll leave you guys for this weekend. Have a great weekend. Hope you guys had a good week. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.